Hey everyone, welcome to Pedalboards of Doom News. We've got some big company news, we've got some smaller company news, and then we've got some really sad news. So we're going to hit it off with the sad news. Two bits here. Firstly, Howard Alexander Dumble has died. He is the creator of the Dumble amps, which, unless you're a multi-millionaire, you're probably not buying, but they have influenced a lot of the world around us, notably a lot of the pedals. So you'll always find them on things like the Line 6 Helix and so on and so forth. You'll always find patches that are supposed to be copying them because the tones on them are amazing. It's really sad to see that he's passed away. R.I.P, dude. R.I.P. Something that's hit me a little bit harder than that was the death announced today of Meatloaf. He was amazing, and I've partied very hard a lot of times as a child with my friends to his music, and it's very, very sad. I've always enjoyed Meatloaf. So, yeah, likewise, R.I.P. Meatloaf. Very, very sad. Now let's move on to something that's happier. It is a birthday. It's not just anyone's birthday, it is Roland's birthday. Roland turns 50 this year. And to celebrate, Roland have created this wonderful website which has everything from 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the last 2 years that has been released on this wonderful. Just go and look at it. It's linked below. What's more is, as you look at the instruments, and it's synths, it's drum machines, it's Boss pedals, and all these bits and pieces, you can see things like the RE201, for instance, and then below it will have 4 different examples of where you can hear that. So you can hear exactly what it sounds like in context, on things like OK Computer and stuff like that. Very, 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 very cool. And I found it, well, I've only got about halfway through. I've got into the 90s, not even all the way through the 90s, and I've been playing with it all morning. So it's amazing. Go and have a look. Happy birthday, Roland. I'm not going to sing because no one wants to hear that. Now, Maestro. We've spoken about them on the news over the last few weeks, and lo and behold, they have been announced. So the Maestro pedals that have been resurrected aren't quite what we were imagining. It isn't heritage stuff being remade. There is, in the case of the Fuzztone FZM, it does have the FZ1 in it. So the FZ1 was the very first fuzz that you heard on Satisfaction. Everyone heard, and it kicked off the whole effects pedal world. We've been over this story a million times, so I'm not going to go into it anymore. But the FZM does have the FZ1 tone. It also has a modern switch as well, so a thicker, fatter, more mid-push tone. Really, really good. Very similar to the FZ1W, which Boss pulled out, because it had the vintage and modern modes on that as well. The other pedals that they've brought out, which are nothing to do with anything they've released in the past, but on their own, pretty damn good. You've got the Ranger Overdrive, the Invader Distortion, the Comic Chorus, and the Discovery Delay. The standout for me on this is the Comic Chorus, which has a lovely chorus tone, but when you flick it up into, I think it's called Orbit, you start to either get tremolo or rotary tones, depending on how you set it, over the top of your chorus, which gives it a very cool texture. It sounded lush, absolutely lush in the demos that Andy did. So go and check out Andy's demos on that. Yeah, the delay is an analog delay similar to something like a carbon copy, and then you've got your overdrive and your distortion. Looks cool. I reckon that this could be they're getting a toe in the water and just like testing the water. So yeah, maybe they're going to do some reissues, maybe not. Gibson's got a lot of money behind them. They can also get hold of the new old stock as well. So since Maestro is owned by Gibson, we might see some NOS FZ1s coming out. Who knows? Who knows? Not me. I'm just speculating. Right, something from Walrus. So it wasn't so long ago that you couldn't get a small multi-effects unit. If you wanted something that was going to be small, that just concentrated on delay or modulation, then you would have to go for either the Big Sky or the Timeline or DD500 or the MD500 and these sort of things, which weren't small, they're quite big. Now we've got the 200 series from Boss. We've got things like the Terraform from Wampler, and now we have the Mako M1, which is the latest in Walrus's Mako series, which is all like digital emulations of other sort of zones. You've got an amp and cab simulator, you've got a delay, and you've got a reverb so far. So no drives on there yet, but it might happen. I want to go into this a little bit more, because what makes or breaks these for an individual is the effects it has on there, because there's always effects that these units miss out, which may feature on other ones. So I want to go through what the effects are on this for you, because on the face of it, it says that it's got chorus, phaser, trem, vibe, rotary and filter. Now that's not quite right. So each one of them breaks up into 3 different effects or types of that effect. So for instance, the chorus has type 1 traditional chorus, then you've got dual chorus, and then you've got tri-chorus. Cool. Okay. Phaser has 2-stage phaser, 4-stage phaser and a univibe. The tremolo has traditional trem, harmonic trem and pattern trem. Now vibe isn't like univibe, because obviously that was on the phaser. Vibe is traditional vibrato, vinyl record, and then tape vibrato. So vibe is actually vibrato, not vibe. Rotary has a traditional Leslie, and then you've got, this is interesting, a horn spin drum sound or a drum spin horn sound, because they're different types of Leslie cabinets. And then on filter, you've got low pass, high pass, and band pass. So this is pretty cool. It's probably the smallest out of all of the multi-effects modulations. It looks great. It really does look really, really good. And I'm pretty sold on it. Hey, just a quick cut in. There have been a couple of updates. One to the TC Plethora and one to the GT1000, both the core and the standard models. So there's really cool updates. Go and check them out. They're pretty substantial. Cheers. Okay, moving on to our last bit of news, but by no means least. I've said it a million times. Jam do not make a bad pedal. Everything that Jam makes is just absolute gold. Absolutely everything they make. I'm totally blown away by everything they do. Now, one of the things that Jam does is they make multi-pedals. So some of them have got like 2 effects in, some of them have got 3 effects in, but they're all like analog pedals. They've just got multiple versions of the pedals in them. One of the things that they made was quite a big one, and it was called the Pink Flow, and it was designed to sound like Pink Floyd. But there was a tone missing from it, and they wanted to get those echo tones. They're called the Seagull tones, and so they made a circuit for it to get that. And instantly people were saying, can we just get this in a pedal? Can we just get this in a pedal and on its own? So they did. And now we've got the Seagull. The Seagull, very interesting. It reacts to your guitar's output, so you can actually make it sound like a Seagull by turning your tone control. It won't work with something with active pickups. So if you've got your 7-string Ibanez and it's got active pickups or Fishman Fluence or something like that, it's not going to work with that. Okay, this is for Strats and Les Pauls with passive pickups and those types of guitars. Other guitar companies are available. Now, what does it actually do? Well, let's talk about the controls, because that might make a bit more sense to you. So your level, obviously, is the output level, but then you've got the frequency, which fine-tunes the frequency so you can get whatever tone you want. You've got a 3-way toggle switch, which goes between the 3 different sweeps. I've got to mention this has got a red phaser in it as well that you would normally find in like a Crybaby. And then you've got the 2-way switch, which goes between a cocked wah sound or the Seagull sound, which is where you're going to get it to actually legitimately sound like a Seagull. I'm not exaggerating, it's very bizarre, but it does actually sound cool, especially if you stick a delay after it. Of course, best analog delay on the market, also made by Jam, the Delay Llama. So Another feature this has is the foot switch. If you hold it down, it's momentary. If you just press it, it's not. And I think that might be the first time Jam has put in a fancy foot switch on one of their pedals. Very, very fancy. Very, very cool and very niche. So very niche. But my goodness, I want one. Right, so that has been this week's news. There was a lot. That was an awful big there's a lot of news. I hope you all have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you next week, as long as there's news. See you all later. Bye bye.